Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to put up a possum. I haven't really seen a whole lot of videos out there about putting up possums, and even though they aren't worth a whole lot, I still think they're worth putting up because you have the time and the checking traps and gas and all that. So if you catch quite a few of them, they'll add up. And there are some good tips on doing them right, on scraping them, because they can be kind of tricky just because they're so thin skinned. So what I prefer is if you have a good smooth flushing beam, like a wooden one. I have to smooth this out every once in a while with a sander because it gets bumps in it from when it pushes off the fat, and then it digs in a little bit and makes lines in it. So you want to make sure it's nice and smooth, because if it's rough and you go over scraping off the fat, it'll burn the hair and then all your hair will fall out. But another good thing, you don't have to worry about that, is to make one out of PVC. This one's too big for possum. This is what I use for beaver, but I just use the wooden one here for most everything. So make sure it's good and smoothed out. And to start on a possum, I use the sharp side on my knife. I just start on the back of the head. I really don't push down, I just kind of start slicing to get it started, kind of like you would on the back of a coon. You just use the weight of the knife with the slicing motion. You don't want to push down because they're real thin. Once they're dry, it's almost like paper. So you get it started up here. I use the sharp side of the knife probably over 90% of the time on these. So if you use the dull side and try and pushing it off, if you go over it more than 3 or 4 times, it'll start burning the hair even though your beam is smooth, just since the skin is so thin. That's why I use the sharp side, and you only have to go over it once, maybe twice. So I just roll them around. Real lightly with a slicing motion. You want to get careful when you get down to the arms because it gets pretty thin. And when I get down to past kind of the neck area, I can kind of just push down straight, but with hardly any pressure. Just push straight with the sharp side, and it'll cut off the fat. Roll them around. Now on the chin and the chest is where it's really thin, so you want to be careful. It'll take you several times before you don't put any holes in them, and I still put a few little holes in them once in a while. Even if you do flesh it right, like I show you, you'd flip it fur side out and give it a couple shakes, and you see fur come out. Don't worry, that's normal. It's just the guard hairs. Or if you get ready to send them to an auction, what I do is I take a shop vac and I make it reverse so it'll blow, and with the end I'll put it up in through the inspection window, and all the loose hair will fly out the mouth. You don't worry if you see a big cloud of hair come out, because that's normal. The first time I did that, I was worried that I ruined them, but after talking to some people, that's normal. But if you do it wrong, you flip it right side out and you shake it, or you can just pinch the fur and pull it, and big clumps of fur come out, like the under fur, the real denser fur. If that starts coming out, then you went over it too many times and burned the hair off. So I'm just going slicing motion, kind of push. It pushes it kind of more than cuts it. Go around the arms real lightly here. When I get down past the arms, I can more just push straight away from me with very little pressure. That's the key, is you don't want to put too much pressure. The fat comes off pretty easy. Come up on the armpit. On the belly here, once you get past the legs, you want to go pretty lightly, especially if it's a female. And you hit that pocket. That pocket's half as thick as the actual skin on them, so that part is really skin thin. Doesn't really matter if it rips, because you're going to cut it out anyways, but it just makes it harder if it does rip. It may look like I'm going over it more than twice, which I am, but that's just because I'm using the sharp side, so I'm hardly pushing down on the skin so it won't burn it. It's not like a coon where you can push down pretty hard and then the fat will come off without burning the hair, because they're thicker skin. So once I get down about an inch or so from the belly, turn it all the way over, get up on the back of the arms here. The other one. And also on some of them, when you start on the back, you'll see the hair follicles come through. Sometimes that's just normal. Their skin is a little thinner. Even if it's real late in the season, it'll still happen, so don't worry about that. But once I get down to the belly, like I said, like an inch or two, flip it over to the back and finish the whole back. Because if you start on the belly and you rip it, you're more likely because it rips really easy once you get it started. And you push down, it'll rip all the way across the back. So that's why I start on the back and I do the belly last. So if you rip it and you still have to scrape off the back, then you'll rip it even more, and then it'll be all messed up. You kind of see that pocket right there. When I skinned it, kind of cut it there. We'll just, and also the key, another reason why it burns off is if you don't have good pressure up here with your body and you go down and it slips down, that also burns the hair too. So you want to make sure you got good, you're pushing against it with all your weight so it doesn't slip down on you. Get the one back leg here, roll it around. You also want to make sure that you're pulling it up closer to you. You don't want to work way down here. You're more likely to put holes in it, just like any other animal you're scraping. Get all that crap off. So come around. So that pretty much pulled off all that stuff on the belly. So what that did, that big glob, pretty much just took out that little pocket on that female, so it didn't really rip it, which was good. But on a male, you want to be careful too. Just on the belly, it's not as bad. Like on the legs here, right up in here in the flank area, it's super thin. If you get it at the right angle and push off with the fat, it'll rip, and the whole back leg fur will rip off, and it'll be hard to put on a stretcher. So what I do is I put it more sideways so the leg is going straight down. Just go over it. Sometimes you have to use a slicing motion to push it off. If it's dry just a little bit. Just like that. Still missed a little bit up here. Just like that, and it's finished there. So now we're going to put it on the stretcher. And I like to use wooden ones, but I don't have any more right now, so I'll use a modified wire stretcher here. I use pretty much from anything from coons to fox and then possum, because I can adjust these. I can just take it out. You can see it doesn't have the ends anymore. Just use the eye bolts, tighten it down. So what we do with these is you want to put the tail on the opposite side of the eye bolts and have the legs face, or the belly on the side with the eye bolts. Sometimes on a wire the nose doesn't stay very good, so you got to use some clothespins. So I'll get it fixed up here and I'll show you. sure he's on there even. Get some clothespins. Put one on each side, kind of up where the whiskers are. Just like anything else, we'll start over here on the belly. And on these, from where it's hard to see, but the wire or the metal tubing in the board, I'm going to go down about 2 inches, pin the legs, I'll show you once I get it pinned. I'll have my tripod. So it'll look just like that. So you can see the end of the board is right below my finger. Pin them legs there. And then I have a bolt on a rafter. I'll loosen up the eye bolts and pull down on the metal tubing just to where it's kind of tight. Tighten them, because that bolt hooks right up into the nose up here, and then I can pull down on that and squeeze up by the front legs at the same time with my other hand. And then whenever it gets pretty tight, then I hold it down with one hand and then tighten the eye bolts like that. So they're just modified wire stretchers. So after that, pull down with the tail. Just put one pin there. On some, depends on how you skin them. This one I skin a little different, so you can't really pull down the sides of the back very far, but I'll put 2 clothespins there. You can see, usually I have some room in between, so you can pull them down and clothespin them. So I just put 1 pin there, and that's good. Come up here, we'll cut the inspection window. Try and make this to where you can see. So we'll just go up here on top of where the little pocket is on the female, and we'll cut that, make a little incision just like that right there. Just go down both sides like a 1/4 inch. You don't want to make it too big. The smaller the inspection window, the better. So just like that. We'll go up here to the arms. For the arms, I just kind of pull back on them, pull up. And I'll go from about the chest up, probably like 1 inch or so. You don't want to make them too big, but sometimes if you get a big male, there'll be big armholes either way. Come up here on the lip. Up here on the lip, if you skin them with the whole lip, just pull up, cut down here, and I go about halfway up to where right about where the eye ends, or where the eye hole is. And other than that, that's finished. there. Just like that. It's a finished possum. Doesn't matter if you use wood or wire, but that's it. They're not real hard. On skinning them, they're basically like a muskrat. I skin them the same way just because you don't use the tail or anything. So you just go from one leg up to the tail, just like you would on the muskrat, and then you just skin them like anything else. I hang them up, and they'll be dry. Oh, I did a couple of these yesterday, and they're already almost dry. So you can see I don't have any off yet, but they're almost paper thin. So you want to be careful so you don't rip them if you're trying to get them off a wooden stretcher if they're tight. But if you have any questions on anything else, how to put up anything, I know I have a couple more otters to scrape, so I'll video that, show you how to scrape those and put them up. So we'll talk to you later.